Welcome back to another mock draft here on the Playbook Sports Podcast, where we are 1 week away from official mock draft 1.0. So again, today's just going to be another one where we're kind of playing around with it. It's the eve of week 18. If your team is one of the many eliminated you are looking forward, it's mock draft season, free agency season. So let's just jump right on into this. We're, again, just doing the first round. Again, no trades at all in this one. So let's get into this. New England on the clock here, pick number 1 as it sits right now. Probably where I expect them to pick truly. Now, if you guys are new to our channel here, if you're one of our new subscribers, first of all, welcome and thank you for subscribing. You guys will know that we like to break down position groups by person on the show. My position group last year was offensive line. This year it's offensive line as well, along with, I think, linebacker I have too. But I've been diving into this offensive line group, and I think it isn't. I'm going to get a little crazy here because I don't think this happens. I think they trade back. But Kelvin Banks is offensive lineman number 1 for me in this draft class. He put on an absolute show in several games. He's a little bit banged up this year, so not his very best, but I think he's lighter on his feet. I think he's a better run blocker than Will Campbell is. I watched Will Campbell go up against Nick Scorton, and I was not super impressed by Campbell, especially in the run game. Kelvin Banks gives you positional flexibility. It doesn't matter if you have a fantastic wide receiver. If you can't throw him the ball because you don't have time, then what's the point? The Patriots can go out and get any wide receiver in free agency that they want. You want T. Higgins, go pay him. Pay him whatever he wants to bring him in. There's always veteran wide receivers available. Getting a guy like Kelvin Banks to be the cornerstone piece of your offensive line, I think it's an opportunity that the Patriots really shouldn't pass on, and he's excellent. He is worth going number 1 to this team here if there's not a quarterback that they're going to take, which they're not. I've seen some people like Nick Wright suggest maybe they trade this pick, or maybe they trade Drake May and take Shadur Sanders and Travis Hunter. Absolutely not. I would not do that. Drake May would be QB1 in this class. He'd be the first pick in this class too. So Kelvin Banks going at pick 1. Tennessee on the clock. Sorry, Will Levis, your time's up, man. And I'm going to make a switch here. I'm actually going to follow, it looks like PFFs. I'm going to go with Cam Ward over Shadur Sanders here, especially because of the spot. I don't like Tennessee's offensive line a whole lot. And Cam Ward is better outside of the structure of the play. More of a playmaker, I think, than Shadur Sanders. A little more athletic than Shadur Sanders. And I just like Cam Ward's game. Now, I could see Tennessee, Brian Callahan, thinking that Shadur Sanders is more Joe Burrow-esque and thinking, I'll get my own Joe Burrow. If that's his line of thinking, understandable. I just like Cam Ward's excitement. I like what he brings to the table. And moving on to pick number 3 here. I'm going Shadur Sanders, man. I'm going Shadur, pick 3 to Cleveland. Need is a quarterback. Deshaun Watson, when he's on the field, is terrible. Dorian Thompson-Robinson is terrible. Jameis Winston's fun. He's not going to win you anything. And that roster is getting older and more expensive every single season. And it's just been wasted by terrible quarterback play. Reset. Get a true quarterback. I think Shadur Sanders has the potential to be a really good quarterback in the league. Again, I can't speak enough on how good of a processor he is of the game, but he is more of a pocket passer than the athletic type of quarterback. The more you watch him play, you're like, okay, get this guy a good offensive line like Cleveland has. Get him some weapons like a Jerry Jeudy and maybe another receiver in free agency they add. Get him some weapons, and they could be pretty dang good together. So I'm going to go Shadur Sanders at pick 3. So Giants, sorry. Thank you for the win over the Colts, giving my Dolphins a chance in Week 18. Sorry, the game means something, but you lose out on the quarterbacks here. I'm not touching Jalen Milroe at pick 4. I'm not touching Dylan Gabriel at pick 4. However, I am going to go ahead and pull the trigger on Travis Hunter here because I think he's probably the best overall prospect in this class based on what he can do. He can play both ways. He can be dynamic on offense for the Giants alongside Malik Neighbors. Yes, please. And he can also be the number 1 cornerback for the Giants. I think he should go to corner. I think he's got excellent technique at corner. He's always around the ball. I appreciate that he models his game after Patrick Surtain and like Richard Sherman and obviously Deion Sanders, who's coached him up. I think that is all of the recipe to be a great corner, and he's obviously got the athleticism to do it. So I think he should be a full-time corner, but offensive packages with him and Neighbors on the field, that's a good time. Jags on the clock, a little bummed to not get Travis Hunter, but they get a fantastic consolation prize in cornerback Will Johnson out of Michigan. Fantastic size for the position. That secondary is atrocious. We knew it was going into the year, and it just manifested itself. So I'm going to go with cornerback Will Johnson here at pick 5. Could be DB1 in the class. Guy's an absolute stud. Panthers on the clock here. This one's chalk, folks. It's Abdul Carter. They have probably the worst pass rush in the league. This guy's got the highest pass rush upside of anybody in this draft class. Although I may like James Pierce a little bit more than him right now. Abdul Carter's athleticism, his bend off of the line is unbelievable. Just a freak athlete, and he's got the numbers to back it up with the sacks this year at 12 sacks, leading one of the best defenses in college football. Abdul Carter needs to be the pick to the Panthers here. I can't think of anyone else that they should even really consider with this pick if he's available for them. He may not even be available. Jets here, I know it's not it's listed as a need, but QB, tight end, and corner. Obviously, I'm not taking a third corner already here. And I'm not going quarterback or really tight end. It's pretty obviously going to be interior defensive line. I think Mason Graham is one of the 3 best players in this entire draft process. So I'm going to just take him and plug him right in next to Quinnen Williams and just rebuild a nasty defensive line like the Jets have been known for. Kind of another chalk pick here, kind of a popular one. Teteroa McMillan to the Las Vegas Raiders. Who are your weapons? It doesn't matter who you have at quarterback, right? Who cares? There's no one to throw the ball to. So you've got to remedy that and give a quarterback someone to throw the ball to. Maybe they take someone in the second round that they want to grow. Maybe they look at Quinn Ewers or Carson Beck in round 2, or even Dylan Gabriel in round 2, Jalen Milroe in round 2. Any of those guys, they will not succeed without any weapons to throw the ball to. And Teteroa McMillan has an argument for best wide receiver in this class if he isn't the best wide receiver in this entire draft class. Guy's a freak. I think Raiders need to address that side of the ball. Offensive lineman Will Campbell goes to the Chicago Bears here, where I do project him to be a guard. I'm not as high on him as I once was. I'm a little bit more. I'm not down on him by any means. He's still a very good offensive line prospect, has still put up fantastic numbers at his position. I just like Kelvin Banks Jr. just a little bit more at this point in the evaluation process. I'm not going to show you guys my 1,000-word scouting report I've written up on both him and Kelvin Banks so far, but right now Kelvin Banks just has him by a touch, and so the Bears very happy to take a consolation prize here in Will Campbell, who can play all 4 offensive line positions for them if they need him to, but I would start him at guard, especially with the way the Bears' offensive line is currently. Saints on the clock here, and this guy I think is a Saint type of player. Mykel Williams out of Georgia, a little bit lower on PFF's board. The Saint, Chase Young, free agent after this year. I know I've been kind of all over the place with the Saints. They need a lot of help, guys. Saints, you guys need a lot of everything. Mykel Williams, they like their bigger edge rushers, and this guy's a bigger size, 265, 6'5", but just an explosive athlete and someone that could really be a cornerstone piece on that defensive line. They need a lot of help in a lot of places. Mykel Williams is just an absolute freak, so I like that pick at pick 10. Pick number 11, San Francisco 49ers. I'm going with one of my guys. I've got 2 my guys that I'll talk about today. And the first one that's going off the board here is James Pierce Jr. out of Tennessee. I don't know why he's dropping down boards. He's a top 10 talent, probably top 5 in this draft class. This is a guy that's going to be a monster. You need somebody across from Nick Bosa that can get all of these one-on-one efforts. Javon Hargrave is drawing double teams. Nick Bosa can be doubled and chipped. But, man, if you've got James Pierce on the other side of those boys, look out. He's coming. This guy's a monster. Absolute monster. 43 hurries, 8 sacks this year, 13 last year, 21 sacks in the last 2 years. He is a technician of a defensive lineman. May not have as high of an upside as some of the other guys, but his floor is way higher. He's pretty similar, but I think better than Latu. He just doesn't have the physical prowess as some of the other guys, but damn if he is not a stud. So I'm going James Pierce at pick 11. Don't care what you say. I know offensive line's a big need here, but you have a chance to get a future star, I think, in James Pierce. Colts at pick 12. I've been really high on giving them a tight end. I'm going to go with safety. Not that their safeties were necessarily bad this year. I just think Malachi Starks brings something to that defense like Brian Branch does for Detroit. He plays all over the place. Very talented player. Yeah, top 7 player. I would even consider him to be a top 5 player in this entire draft class. Just plays all over the field, can play in the box, can play deep safety, can play slot cornerback. Very talented player. The Colts just need to add some talent to that defensive side. When you get 45 points hung on you by Drew Lock, you need to reevaluate some things on the defensive side of the ball. Dallas Cowboys, Colin, I'm looking at you, buddy. Jerry Jones makes the call here. Jerry Jones makes these picks. Not me, not anybody else. And I'm doing what I think Jerry Jones wants to do. Jerry Jones is all about the name. He's all about the hype. There is no one with a bigger name and more hype in college football than Ashton Jeanty, running back out of Boise State. Unbelievable season. 94.8 PFF grade is unreal. 2,600 yards this year. The Cowboys have gotten middling production. Rico Dowdle, we're like, oh, wow, this guy's not that bad. it's Rico Dowdle. Ashton Genty's already better than him. A little smaller sized, I will say, a little smaller. Ashton Genty's, 5'9", 215, but man, Jerry likes these kind of players. This is the pick that Jerry will want to make. I guarantee it. So I'm going Ashton Genty at pick 13. Unfortunately for them, the Bengals have fallen below them in the draft order, so I can't give them Ashton Genty instead. Sorry. Arizona on the clock here, and they desperately need an edge rusher, so I'm going to give them the best one on the board, Nick Scorton, player who played very solidly against Will Campbell. Definitely more of a run-stuffing defensive end. Definitely fits more of a 3-4 D end and not one of the outside pass rushers, but can absolutely rush the passer. But, I watched him play. Will Campbell's an excellent run blocker, but he was not on that day. Nick Scorton won that battle when it came to the running reps. He can get better in pass rush as he continues to improve that game and refine his technique. I think his floor is really high, and I think Jonathan Gannon needs some studs on that defensive side of the ball. Miami on the clock here, and this is my guy number 2. I'm staying with him. I'm going with Wyatt Milam. He's not going to play tackle for me. He's going to play guard, although he was fantastic as a tackle, so if we needed him to, he could. Look how many sacks he's given up in 3 seasons, guys, in 35 football games. That's about 1460 and 2,500 snaps. 0 sacks allowed. That's crazy. I don't care what that's against Division I talent. That's all that matters. It's against Division I talent. He doesn't give up sacks. He's good size for guard. Could maybe put on 10 pounds. He's going to have good to average arm length, so I don't know if I stick him at tackle. But if he's got tackle flexibility, fantastic. Miami, please, 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 take an offensive lineman. For the love of God, take an offensive lineman. I'm begging you. Cincinnati on the clock here. T. Higgins is gone. I'm sorry. You're going to have to just accept that. Luther Burden steps right in, can be a stud alongside of Jamar Chase. Again, doesn't have the numbers this year like he did last year. I chalk that more up to Mizzou and not to him. Luther Burden's awesome. Cincinnati's going to need a wide receiver, so that's where we're going with that. On the clock, Atlanta Falcons here. I am going to go with a personal favorite of mine. Not one of my guys, but I love me some Siobhan Revell. I think we've forgotten about him just a little bit because he got hurt. I think Atlanta likes his size to go alongside A.J. Terrell. Something like if Raheem Morris is still the coach, he's going to want to build up that defense. Siobhan Revell is a very talented player, and you just plug him right in, and he's CB2 for them. Seattle on the clock here. Need offensive lineman, guard, and tackle, both listed as needs. I'm going to continue to give him Cameron Williams. He just feels like a Seahawk. I can't explain it any better than that. He's played well for Texas this year. He hasn't been fantastic. He's more of a projectable kind of guy. Someone I feel like Mike McDonald's going to really like throughout the process and be like, yeah, I can play this guy all over the place. He's got all of the physical tools in the world. He can be really, really good for us. It just feels like a Seahawk. I don't know. Can't explain it. Feel free to tell me if I'm wrong. Houston on the clock. Spoiler alert, it's going to be this guy until proven otherwise. It's going to be Tyler Booker. Really low on PFF for some reason. I think he's a very... the floor is way high for him. One of, if not the highest floor for an offensive lineman in this draft. I haven't done my full deep dive into him just yet. I have looked into him a good bit, though, and I think he is going to be a very good guard. That's what Houston needs. Houston desperately needs a good guard. This guy's the best pure guard in the class. Broncos on the clock here. Another common one. Emeka Egbuka, I really like this fit. I really like adding another receiver into this room. He has poor Egbuka. He's gotten 10 touchdowns this year. He's always second fiddle to just generational prospects. Marvin Harrison Jr. comes in and takes over that number 1 spot after Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson all just left, and Jackson Smith and Jigba were there, and they just all graduated to the NFL as first-round picks. And he's like, my time to shine. Marvin Harrison Jr. is like, just kidding. And now this year, he's like, all right, Marvin's gone. Now it's my time to shine. And then the 17-year-old Jeremiah Smith, true freshman, is already one of, if not, they saying he would be wide receiver 1 in this class if he could. And he's 18 years old. That's crazy. Absolute freak. But Egbuka is so solid. And again, he wouldn't have to be number 1 because we've got Cortland Sutton there. But I think he would be a solid number 2. You could argue tight end here, but I'm going to stay with Egbuka. Buccaneers here. I've got them taking a corner. They need help on the backside of that defense. Benjamin Morrison, someone who's fallen down in the draft process thanks to his injury. Very good corner. Don't think he should fall. I think if his medicals all check out, he is a top 20 player in this class, and you get him at a little bit of a discount at pick 21. Next up, at pick 22. You guys know I had to do it, right? I don't know if this will be how it is in mock draft 1.0, but you know I have to do it today. And it's going to be giving the Michigan man his Michigan man. We're going Colston Loveland to the Chargers. They hit absolute gold in their wide receiver pick last year in Ladd McConkey. There's really not a wide receiver to speak of here at this point in this class. Maybe Alec Ayomanor, maybe, but I wouldn't take him. I'd go Colston Loveland. At the best receiving tight end in the class, Tyler Warren is a do-it-all stud. Colston Loveland is a better blocker than he gets credit for. Excellent hands. Very good route runner, honestly. He just hasn't. It's a Michigan. He isn't going to put up the stats that Tyler Warren is. It's a run-first offense. That's just how it's going to be. But you play him all over the place, guy's going to be a stud. And back with John Harbaugh, I love it. Michigan on St. Louis. Oh, my God. The Rams on the clock. I'm losing my mind here. Rams need an offensive tackle really badly, and there's a really good one staring them right in the face in Josh Simmons out of Ohio State. Another guy who is on my very short list of people to watch tape on ASAP, at least more tape than just like highlight films, obviously. But him versus Ariante Ursary, I would have not too long ago had Ursary above him. Ursary's tape study was not very kind to him. I have dropped him a little bit. But Josh Simmons, very good offensive lineman, another guy who's probably a top 15 talent in this class, but dropped because of injury. Rams really need the help there, so I like them going with him at 23. Green Bay on the clock. They need an interior defensive lineman to go alongside of Kenny Clark. And while his team did lose this weekend, and I don't understand how he's possibly this low, this has got to be updated. Derek Harmon's way too good. Actually, you guys should just leave him for Miami to take in the third round. That'd be really cool. This guy's going in the first round. Derek Harmon, defensive tackle out of Oregon. Fantastic size, very athletic for his size. His combine's going to be fun to watch. Green Bay needs that presence on the interior, and he's a great pick for them. And there's no corner you really want to take here. And again, I'm more down on Ursary than I have been. Pittsburgh coming up here. Again, I've been giving them a wide receiver a lot, and I'm probably going to do it again here and go off of what I did earlier. I think Ayomanor is really solid. I don't know if they're going to do this. I just don't know if they're going to do this or not. Good size for the position. 6'2", 210, redshirt junior, so he's a younger guy. They don't like taking receivers early. They just don't like it. I want to give them a corner. They don't have it listed as a need. I think it's still a need, even though Dre Porter Jr. has been really good. I think they could use a corner. But I'm going to go with Alec Ayomanor for now at pick 25. Washington on the clock at pick 26, and we are going to go with the corner here, and it's someone I think is going to get pushed into the first round because of how well he did this past year in the SEC, giving up approximately 0 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. DB of the year, Jahdae Barron. I think he's got to be a first-round guy, and if you're Washington, you just take whatever defense you can get. Your offense is good. You need offensive line help for sure. Free agency or later rounds in the draft, you can address that. You got a chance to get potentially a lockdown corner. You swung and missed in a terrible way on your first-round pick a couple years ago, Emmanuel Mobley. I think that was who it was. Now I'm messing up his name. Jahdae Barron here, though. I really like that fit, so we'll go with him at pick 26. Baltimore on the clock here. They need offensive line help for sure. It hasn't been nearly as good as you would like it to be. And let me find my guy here. Where in the heck is he at? Is he higher? It's going to be out of Arizona. It's going to be Jonah Savai Anaya, I believe it's pronounced. I might be messing that up. I do think he transitions also to guard, but he does have good position flexibility. Great size for the position. More athletic than you would think at 336 pounds. Guy's really, really good. He's going to start sneaking into, I think, most of my first rounds. He cannot still be there. Next up, the rich get richer. I'm sorry, it just felt like that. I know I could have slotted him in probably somewhere else, but Jalen Walker to the Philadelphia Eagles, and Howie Roseman wins Executive of the Year again. Just another Georgia Bulldog defender that falls right to him. They can play him on edge. They can play him as stand-up. They can play him as an off-ball linebacker. He'll play all over. He'll be another chess piece for them to work with. So Jalen Walker there, I would be shocked if he's available. Again, this isn't mock 1.0. I'm just playing around still. I do not think he'll be there at pick 28, but he is, and the Eagles are saying thank you very much. Buffalo Bills on the clock here at pick 29. We're going to give them edge rusher Shamar Stewart, a just chess piece defensive lineman. I like this fit here. Really good size, can rush off the edge. More of a run-stopping 3-4 edge rusher. and they don't really need him to come off of the edge with Gregory Rousseau and AJ Epineza there doing their thing. They could plug him right in the middle, be just a fast interior defensive lineman that can just beat guards with speed. And then you'll have to watch that. You'll have to start doubling him, and you can't double everybody on that defensive line. I really like Shamar Stewart's versatility. I think he will be very good in the league, and I hate to see him go to the Bills. Detroit on the clock here at pick 30, and it kind of obviously is flip-flopping a little bit on who picks here between them and Minnesota, so that is to be seen. I am going to give them a defensive tackle here. They probably could use edge rusher. There's just no edge rusher I love at this spot. Tyleik Williams isn't. Obviously, he's D-tackle, and as far as D-tackles go, I like Walter Nolan more. I think Walter Nolan's a little bit better than him. Great grade B of PFF. Really good size. More of the athletic defensive tackle type. He's young. I could just see him fitting in nicely on that Detroit Lions defensive line. Minnesota, another one that happens a lot here. I'm going with running back Omarion Hampton. Now, this obviously will change if Aaron Jones returns because he'll continue to be the guy there. But Omarion Hampton is such a stud. He's the second best running back in this class. Unbelievable numbers. Hardly even need to talk about him. 2,000 total yards, 15 touchdowns. Guy's a freak. 1,500 yards back-to-back seasons, 15 touchdowns back-to-back seasons. What else do you want? He's fast, and he's looking for contact. I mean, he's built like a brick shithouse at 6'1", 220. I would not want to tackle him. And you just throw him into an offense that absolutely hums. And Minnesota fans probably want defense here, and there's just not a corner. Maybe Trey Amos there is probably who I would consider. I'm going to stay with Omarion Hampton, but keep an eye on Trey Amos for Mock Draft 1.0. And then Kansas City, again, they're just going to luck into Tyler Warren. He just happens to fall. Very rarely do two or more tight ends go in the first round. Couldn't there be definitely two here? I think so. I think Colston Loveland and I think Tyler Warren are both pretty much locks to be in the first round. So I've got Kansas City snagging him at pick 32 just to prepare for whenever Travis Kelce decides to hang it up and become a full-time podcaster. So that's all I've got for you guys in this mock draft iteration. Again, look alive for mock draft 1.0 coming out sometime late next week, where I'm going to make these picks and I'm going to stick to them and not be like, well, it could go here, could go here. No, this is my official mock draft 1.0 coming out next week. So if you're not already subscribed, make sure you guys subscribe because it's going to be just draft content like you wouldn't believe coming out over the next couple of months. Topping it all off with a vlog from the actual draft at Lambeau Field where we will be in attendance for the entire first round. So that's all I've got for you guys. We will see you all in the next one.